Alright, ladies and gentlemen, good morning everybody. Today I would like to explain the first part of paragraph 7.4 when we're gonna talk about quadratic equations. Now, you already know what an equation is, hopefully, because we already know equations if we look at the chapter about linear equations. But today we're gonna talk about quadratic equations. Now, first of all, linear equation. For example, if we had 3x plus 12 is equal with 0. There you find an equation. Why? Because what is left is equal with what is right. So we need to fill in an x to get 0. Now, how can we solve it? We subtract on both sides with 12, so you get 3x is equal with minus 12. So x is equal with minus 4. That's your solution. Now, if I just make a sketch of the situation, with that an x-axis, the y-axis, the line goes like this. Y is 3x plus 12. And it will intersect there, at this point. And that's minus 4. So we want to know if we have is equal with 0, we want to know where does it intersect in the x-axis, and that's at minus 4. So that was the linear equations. Right, today we're gonna talk about the quadratical equation, but before we start, we're gonna look at the theory a times b is equal with 0. And a could be a number, let me just say 6 times b is equal with 0. And the question is, what does b needs to be if the answer is 0? Yeah, of course, b needs to be 0. So that's the solution. We can also try with the a, so let me just have a times b is equal with 0. If we have a random number, and multiply it with minus 8, needs to be 0, yeah, then even a needs to be 0. If I fill in a there, 0 times minus 8 is 0. Yeah? Let me just make it a bit harder. Look again at a times b is 0. We're gonna fill in for a, for example, 8, and for b, multiplying with x minus 2 is equal with 0. So 8 multiplying with something else is 0. In that case, we need to make from that something else, this one, the x minus 2, we need to make from that part 0. Now, if we fill in 2, then we make 0, because 2 minus 2 is 0. So, we also can say x minus 2 needs to be 0. So, x is 2. There you go. That's your equation. So, if I fill in x in my equation, then you get x times, inside the bracket 2 minus 2, 2 minus 2 is 0, so 8 times 0 is 0. Alright, but what if we have with the a times b is equal with 0 for a x plus 6, and for b x minus 2 again is 0. Then we need to create on this side 0, or we need to create on the other side 0. And that's very important. So we have two solutions here. So we can fill in, we need to make from the x plus 6 is equal with 0. So that's x is minus 6. Or we need to make from the x minus 2 is equal with 0. So x is 2. So right here we have two solutions. X is minus 6 and x is 2. Now let me just try both answers. So let me just fill in the x over there. then you get minus 6 plus 6 inside the brackets times minus 6 minus 2 is equal with, hopefully, 0. Minus 6 plus 6 is 0 times minus 6 times minus 2 is minus 8, and 0 times minus 8 is 0. So this one is correct. Alright, let me just look at the x is equal with 2. If we fill in that one, then we get inside the bracket 2 plus 6 times 2 minus 2 is equal with 0. 2 plus 6 is 8 times 0 is, of course, 0. So we just tried that if the solutions x is minus 6 and x is 2, if they are okay, if they are correct. Alright, so if we look at an example of exercise 48, the question is to solve. And solve means that we need to find the x. Find the x. So which x is possible? Now let me just have a look at A. You get x plus 3 and x minus 9 is equal with 0. So x plus 3 needs to be 0, or, and that's the or symbol, x minus 9 needs to be 0. Now use the balance method, so this one is x is minus 3 and the other one is x is equal with 9. So that's exercise A. B, 2x and then times x plus 5 is equal with 0. Alright, right here, this part needs to be 0, or that part needs to be 0. So 2x needs to be 0, so x divided by 2 is still 0, or x plus 5 is equal with 0, so x is minus 5. There you go. Alright, exercise C. Inside the bracket, x minus 1 times 2x plus 15 is equal with 0. So x minus 1 needs to be 0, or 2x plus 15 needs to be 0. So x minus 1 is equal with x is equal with 1, and we subtract on both sides over here with 15, then you get minus 15, so x is minus 7.5. Then the last one, exercise D. It is A multiplying with 0,5a minus 10 is equal with 0. So this part needs to be 0, or the other part needs to be 0. So A is equal with 0, that's immediately the solution, the first one, or 0.5a minus 10 needs to be 0. Add on both sides with 10, 0.5a is equal to 10. I'm multiplying with 2, then you get a is 20. So those two answers are the solutions with the equation which you find at the top. If you fill both, and not immediately both, so first a is 0, then you get the answer 0, and if you have a is equal with 20, if you fill it, then even that's the answer 0. So that's the answers from exercise 48 and an explanation what you do with the theory on page number 121. So good luck everybody.